Hey guys, Jim Edwards here. Hope you're having a great day. Let me know in the Q&A box if you can hear my voice and see the screen. The screen should say Copywriting Secrets Masterclass. So, all right. Hey Terry, hey Tom, Jay, Chris, Apple. Awesome, 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 awesome. We will get started here in about uno minuto, whatever. We'll start in about a minute. So I'm glad you guys, hey Ann, Michael. So we'll get started here in about a minute. Whew. Oh, look, it's one of those calls from the federal government telling me that I owe money and they're coming to arrest me and I need to take care of this important and sensitive matter. Thing I don't understand is I got my phone on Do Not Disturb and yet those calls still make the damn ringer ring. Oh, well, probably more than you needed to know. But there you go. Anybody else getting those nifty phone calls on your phone? Robocalls. So there you go. Jay's getting them all the time. So all right. So it is 1 o'clock. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to do a little countdown and then we're going to go. So just so you guys know, I've got a bunch of questions that were submitted that I'm going to go through, and then we will have time for live questions at the end. So, and then we will go from there. So I anticipate that this session will go for about an hour. So, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Copywriting Secrets Masterclass. Today we're going to be doing Q&A on the Insider's Guide to Finding the Right Words that Make People Buy from You no matter what you sell. So, this is our final Q&A session, so no need for tears because we're going to be getting everything ironed out and sending you on your way with everything you need to be awesome at copywriting. So, first question, what makes copywriting different from regular writing? And I think the answer to this is pretty simple. It's your intention. What is your intention when you're writing? Is your intention to entertain? Is your intention to just simply convey information? Or is your intention to actually get people to take some specific action? And I think that's really the key difference between copywriting and regular writing. Copywriting has an intention of getting someone to take a specific action. That action can be to click a link, to buy something, to fill out a form, to opt in for something, to request a phone call or actually make a phone call. But interestingly enough, I think that also means when you think about it from the standpoint of intention, that a lot more things are copywriting than you might think. Blog posts are copywriting. Facebook posts are copywriting. The things that you put in your Instagram posts are copywriting. If, in fact, your intention is to get somebody to click a link, to go to a specific page, to request information, to fill out a form, to opt in, to request a phone call, or to make a phone call. So I think it would be wise for all of us to expand our definition of what copywriting is and look at what we're doing on a regular basis more frequently as copywriting as opposed to, hey, I'm just writing something. How much has the art/science of copywriting changed over the years? And that's a really interesting question, and I can only answer the question for about the last 25 years from when I was writing ads at the bank that were making the compliance department rip their hair out and causing lots of headaches all the way up through today. And I would say in some ways it's changed from the standpoint of you don't have as much time with people anymore. Used to be that you could give more information and you could keep people's attention. Now in the online world, you only have a few seconds to grab people's attention and keep their attention. I think also curiosity is a lot more important than it was perhaps. And I think that's linked to the amount of time you do and don't have as far as getting people's attention and keeping people's attention. So you got to be faster with people to stimulate them and pull them in. You also have to get to the point quicker, at least in my opinion. So I would say that's how it's different. As far as how is it the same, it still comes down to solving people's problems, satisfying desires, showing them that you can help them change their situation for the better. And I don't think that's ever going to change. And the thing I would also encourage you to do is go back and review The Secret on the top 10 reasons why people buy, because that was really a game changer for me in my copywriting career, and understanding that I needed to write from the perspective of one or more of those reasons why people buy. Instead of just talking in generalities, if I knew why typically people were going to want to buy, that made writing copy a lot easier because it gives you a focus and a filter. So make money, save time, avoid effort, escape pain, and the rest of them. Know why people are buying, and that's going to make your copywriting a lot easier and be able to enter the conversation going on in their mind a lot quicker. What, in your opinion, makes the copy so good they can't refuse to buy? That's a great question, and the short answer is because your copy makes them believe they're going to get the result that they want. And so if they believe that they're going to solve their problem, they're going to get their desire, they're going to make that money, save that time, avoid that effort, escape that pain, whatever it is, that makes the copy so good they can't refuse to buy. And that comes down to hooking them. That comes down to having an emotional appeal. It comes down to having the proof that you can deliver not only for yourself, but you can also deliver for them. Because that's really the mental checklist that people run down is, first, does this work? Second, has this worked for other people? And third, do I believe that this is going to work for me? Now, sometimes it can be as simple as a demo where they see, oh, okay, that's how the product works, and I believe that I could push the button that way or use the product that way. Other times, it's as complicated as having the proper case studies, using the right words, having data to back you up, and what have you. But that's really the mental checklist that people run down. Do I believe it's possible to get this result? Have other people gotten the result? And do I believe that I personally can get the result? So that's the short answer for what makes copy so good they can't refuse to buy. Should you write the copy before you make or create or manufacture the product or service? And that's a great question, because I actually believe whenever possible, you should craft the perfect offer before you actually create whatever it is you're going to sell. And the reason you want to do that is because as soon as you have your info product done, as soon as your physical product is done, as soon as you've made the recordings, as soon as you've made the demonstration videos, as soon as you've done everything, the world is finite. In other words, not everything or anything is possible anymore. And your critical brain, when you start writing copy, for some people this is worse than others, your critical brain kicks in and says, well, does it really do that? Or if you make a claim about something, or give information. You say, well, yeah, I guess it does that, but is that really stretching it? And that causes you to equivocate in your copy, which is a fancy way of saying you tone down the promises in the copy because you're worried that the product won't live up to the promise. So I'm a huge advocate of creating the ultimate offer, the ultimate sales copy, and then creating the product that meets or preferably exceeds the promises made in the copy. So the copy literally becomes the blueprint for the creation of the product rather than a spec sheet. And I think that that's actually really easy to do when you're talking about an info product or a training, because you nail everything in the offer, nail everything in the sales copy, and then you simply just make sure you teach everything that you outline. With a physical product, I think that's still possible, because what you need to do is design the perfect ultimate thing that people are going to want to buy, and then you manifest it as a physical product in the real world. Now, will you run into some type of restrictions, especially with a physical product? Probably, but it's always easier to go back and say, okay, maybe we need to adjust this one little spot. Or you say, you know what? I'm committed to making this work no matter what. And we're going to find a way to make this happen. So I think that this is a wonderful strategy for creating copy that sells like crazy, is to create your offer, create your sales copy, create your sales letter, create your sales video before you actually manufacture the product or the service or the software or the information. Now, the cool thing here, just in final thinking, is that if you're going to create an info product, this is an easy process. You just create the ultimate offer and then fulfill it. It's the same thing with software. It's better to create the sales copy for a piece of software before it's made, because then that's going to force you to make sure that all the features that you need in order to sell it are in there. And it'll give you the strength of purpose when you run into inevitably a programmer who's going to say, well, it'd be easier if we didn't have this. Is this feature really necessary? And if you have it as part of your known sales plan, you say, yes, this feature is really necessary. Let's get that done. Same thing with a service. I mean, a service doesn't get delivered until after you've actually sold it. So make it sound amazing in your sales copy and then deliver on the promise that you've made. So 3 out of 4, it's drop dead, no brainer. And when it comes to a physical product, I believe that 9 times out of 10, you're still going to be able to follow that as well. How can I get good at copy fast? Now, that's a great question. And the answer to that is the P word. And the P word is practice. Now, the way to get good at something fast is first you have to try. And then once you try, you have to be bad. And then you can be good. And then you can be great. And the only way you can be great is first to be good. The only way to be good is first to be bad. And the only way to be bad first is to try. So my suggestion is that you write or create some copy every single day, and then don't just sit on it. Put some eyeballs on it and see what kind of a reaction you get. What do people think? What do people do? Or do people just not do anything? So that's the biggest thing you got to do, is write it, create it, and then put it in front of people and get a reaction. Because the only way you're going to get better is to see whether people come across with money, or they come across with opting in, or if they come across with clicking the link or dialing the phone. So that's it. And that's what you need to do. If you want to get good, you got to be bad. And before you can be bad, you got to try. And that means putting stuff out there, trying to get people to take an action, and then measuring and observing, okay, when I do this, this happens. When I tweak this, this happens. And that's just how you get better, and it becomes a spiral upward until all of a sudden you're good. How long did it take you to become an expert at copywriting? That's another interesting question. I've been writing copy for over 25 years. I do not consider myself to be an expert at copywriting. I consider myself to be good at selling. As soon as you consider yourself to be an expert, that's when you stop asking questions. And I think, especially in the world of sales, you have to keep asking questions. You have to be able to say, hey, wait, what's actually working right now? What's not working anymore? And that involves paying attention to what's going on. That involves being able to ask questions like, I wonder what would happen if we tried this. And we do a lot of that around here. I wonder what would happen if we tried this. Well, I don't know. I guess we need to try. And remember, try leads to bad, which leads to good, which leads to great. And very seldom do you actually get to great. But good can get you paid too. But I wonder what would happen if we tried this. And those seem to be the questions that keep us moving down the trail, seeing what's working, seeing what stopped working, figuring out what's not working, and just trying a whole bunch of new things. And also operating from the standpoint of how can I help people? And instead of how can I sell everybody everything, how can I help people? How can I add value to the point that people want to pay me? That's a great question to ask, by the way. How can I add value to the point that people want to pay me? They feel compelled to pay me. They will feel guilty if they don't pay me. So be very careful about considering yourself to be an expert at anything. It's much better to consider yourself to be a student of copywriting. How long did it take you to become a true student of copywriting? And the answer to that is the instant you decide to be one. So that would be the way I would reframe that question. I would really need to be careful about declaring yourself to be an expert at anything. The only thing I know I'm truly expert at is making mistakes. I'm really freaking good at that. Everything else, I try to be a good student. How do you structure sales copy and headlines for a seriously boring commodity product with no obviously result-based opportunity, credit card, terminal, paper rolls? Now, this is pretty boring, okay? But I want you to think about the poor schlep who has to buy this commodity thing. And the question that I'm always asking is, what's the emotion attached to this? And so thinking about credit card terminal paper rolls or something that's just so boring, it's like buying toilet paper or buying paper towels or buying bottled water or something. Think about what are the emotions that somebody is dealing with? What is making them unhappy or even just plain super angry? What are they happy about? What do they daydream about? What are the problems that they're dealing with this commodity that just make whatever it is even worse? This reminds me of a conversation, very one-sided conversation I had with my homeowner's insurance agent. We had met the guy once, signed all the paperwork, had 2 houses with him, or actually 3 houses with him, 4 cars, a boat, a 4-wheeler, a tractor, and an umbrella policy. It's just a huge amount of insurance. And I got a letter from the insurance company directly, not from him, that told me they were canceling the insurance on one of my investment houses. And I called him up and I said, why are they doing this? And it was some stupid thing that was easily corrected. And I said to him, your job is to stay off my radar. I shouldn't have to think about what I'm doing with you. I should just have the opportunity to not worry about what the insurance is covering and whether it's working or not, and whether you're going to give me any shit or not. And he said, what do you mean? I said, your job is to stay off my radar. That's your job. I know that you're there if I need you, but you should not be causing me one iota of problem. And I was kind of a jerk about it, but it pissed me off that they sent me a letter telling me they were going to cancel the insurance on my house when I had been paying them $10,000 a year in premiums for all these different things that we had. And the reason I tell that story is because something that's boring, perhaps the angle is we do exactly what we need to do. We don't aggravate you, and we make it so you can move on with your life and it's one less thing to worry about. So perhaps the angle for this is to play up the fact that it's boring. Play with it. Say, you know what? The last thing anybody ever really wants to think about is buying paper for the credit card terminal until you've got a line of 10 people backed up and you see the purple stripe show up on the credit card receipt, and you reach for a replacement roll and you find you don't have one. That's the time you don't want to think about credit card terminal paper rolls. So I think that angle of take care of it now so you don't have to worry about it later, and also bringing up an emotional situation where they see that, hey, maybe I should have paid attention to the credit card terminal paper roll issue, is something that would be worth exploring. So you always want to look for the emotion, look for the story, look for the case study, look for the situation where it stops being a boring commodity product, and the fact that they don't have it becomes a major pain in the butt, and then lead with that. That would be my suggestion. How do I find a better balance of this is about you and how awesome you will be when you buy my thing, and my thing is really awesome and you should buy it? So the last thing you ever really want to talk about is you and your product until you have talked about them and their problem, them and their future, them and their desires and their hopes and their dreams. So it starts with them, whatever it is that you're doing with them, whether it's the before after bridge, the problem agitate solve, the benefit, then do this, whichever of those three that you're using. It's all about them to begin with, and then you transition into how your product, your service, your software, your information helps them to get more of what they want or to get less of what they don't want, or both. So you lead with them. The story is about them. The sales copy is about them. That's how you do it. You don't start talking about your thing. You talk about them. It's like that Toby Keith song of, I like talking about you usually, but occasionally I like talking about me. Well, I would say you should be talking about them a whole lot more than you talk about yourself, especially at the beginning of your sales copy. Does negative headline / copy content fear-based convert better than positive headline copy content? And my answer to that is typically when you are talking about cold traffic, yes, a negative headline, a fear-based headline, a headline that enters the conversation that's already going on inside of their head will convert better. Why? Because it grabs their attention and it holds their attention. That's why. When we're talking about warm traffic, that is people that are looking for a solution. Because if you remember, cold traffic is people who know they have a problem, but they have no idea if there's a solution out there, that there's a solution. They sure don't know about you. But warm traffic, they know that there's got to be a solution out there somewhere. And so you can't lead with fear-based because they're looking for a solution. You have to phrase your headline, especially around the solution, so that they can know, hey, this is the solution I'm looking for potentially. And then, of course, hot traffic, you not only phrase it around the solution, but more so you phrase it around yourself and your product, because they already know who you are and what you're offering, and you're just trying to get them to make that buying decision now. So for cold copy, yes, typically it's going to be fear-based, it's going to be negative, it's going to be problem-centered, simply because you're entering the conversation going on in their mind. Now, in the warm and the hot, what you can do, and this isn't necessarily fear-based, but it is negative in some respect, you can then use a takeaway close, where once you have used one of the formulas and you've introduced the solution, you can say something like, now, this isn't for everybody. In fact, we're only looking for some specific people who want to blank, blank, blank. So again, this isn't for everybody. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean this isn't? So you can use a negative in the form of a takeaway or something similar to that, and use negative copy or fear of missing out. It's a very popular thing now referred to as FOMO, fear of missing out, which is basically, in many cases, a takeaway. You can use a takeaway, you can use a deadline. However you induce this fear of missing out, that's where you can use a negative later on in your sales copy to get people to take action because they're afraid that they're going to miss out. How to take a client's boring offer and sexify the living poo out of it. Well, the number one thing that sexify an offer is emotion. Because you've heard this before, and it's absolutely true. People buy on emotion and they justify on logic. So if you can amp up the emotion, that's going to amp up the buying power. And I'm assuming by sexify, you mean increase the buyify. Yeah, I just made that up. Increase the buyify factor. And that is finding the emotion. Really digging in. When I look at most people's sales copy, they're always talking about features. Sometimes they're talking about benefits. Rarely do they talk about meaning. And meaning is where all the emotion is typically located. So you need to find the meaning, you need to find the emotion and amp that up, turn the volume up on that to either push them or pull them. But the emotion creates motion. And so that's how you can sexify the living poo out of anything, is to tie it to as much emotion as you can. I'm in addiction, lots of pain and lots of shame slash fear. How do I keep moving people to buying, but not be overly pushy? There's a lot of different things that you can do, but my suggestion would be to use a lot of future pacing. Now, future pacing is basically where you ask questions like, what is your life going to be like if you don't stop drinking? What is your life going to be like if you don't stop taking drugs? What is going to be the impact on your kids if you keep doing this behavior? What's going to happen to your marriage in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months? Will you even still be married? Will you be out on the street? You don't have to be pushy to get the emotion amped up to the point where they're just looking for any kind of help. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do, though, because you don't want to beat on them so much that they can't function, like it's so bad that they just turn away and they start pushing against it, whatever it is that you're doing. They're just like, get that away from me. It's too bad. So you want to kind of take them like this. So you can meet them where they are. Hey, you got a drinking problem? All right. Well, lots of people do. Let's talk frankly for a minute. What's going to happen if? What if? All right. And you ask them those questions that I just said. Now, that's pretty bleak, isn't it? Yep, that sucks. Now, I want to ask you something else. What would happen if we actually got this handled? What would your life be like if you did quit drinking? What would your life be like if you stopped taking drugs? What would your life be like if you stopped being abusive to your spouse? And how is that going to affect your children? How is that? So painting that picture of rising them up, and then here's the product, here's the offer, here's the thing. Now, the great news for you is you've already taken the first step, and the first step is to realize that you need to get some help. And so all you need to do is get started, and getting started is the hardest step. So when you push that button, you are on your way to recovery. So that kind of a thing, taking them on that journey. And if there's lots of shame, then you got to shame them a little bit more, and then you got to help them get past the shame. If there's fear, you got to intensify the fear, and then you help them get past the fear. Because if the shame was bad enough, they would do something about it. If the fear was bad enough, they would do something about it. So you've got to make it worse and show them what the world is going to be like. And then once you've done that, then you throw out the life ring and say, hey, it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, I want you to see what life can be like in a very short period of time if we get this handled. So that would be my suggestion for handling that kind of a thing. How do I ensure my copy flows from step to step in the funnel and is consistent without being repetitive? How much of the same language should be used at each level? So this is interesting. This is an interesting thing because this is a phenomenon that I see all the time where people see, okay, I need a landing page, I need some emails, I need a confirmation page, I need a one-time offer page, I need all these different pages in my funnel, and they think that all of the sales copy has to be different. And my experience is that you want to have a very, very consistent message. You want to use the same words. The funny thing is your emails can have that drive people to your website or to whatever can have the exact same language as is in your sales copy. And the words on the page can be the exact same words that are in your video sales letter. So don't reinvent the copy wheel all the time. Use the same copy over and over. Use the same words, because what that's going to do is the more they see it, the more there's going to be a level of familiarity and a level of comfort where that message is going to get reinforced over and over and over and over. The other thing that you want to do is to make sure that as you're transitioning from your confirmation or to your one-time offers to your downsells, you want to make sure that stylistically also everything looks the same. It's obvious that they're still on the same website. It's obvious that it's still the same person talking to them. It's obvious that this is still part of the same conversation that's taking place. And so it needs to look the same, read the same, and work the same all the way through your funnel, pretty much even beginning back with your ads or your emails or your solos or however you're driving your traffic. It should all be congruent. And that means using the same words, similar pictures, stylistically, everything looks the same. Otherwise, you're just creating confusion, but you're not just creating confusion, you're creating uneasiness because they're not feeling like 100% confident that this is all the same thing and that they're in a safe place. So that's another reason why everything needs to read similarly, be formatted similarly, same pictures, same colors, layout, fonts, all that stuff. So it's obvious that this is just totally continuous all the way through. Any techniques or value in using local vernacular for copy? I recently was told my professional copy didn't fit my millennial audience. Okay. When we talk about entering the conversation that's going on in their head, that means using the words that they use, because otherwise you're using the wrong words. So you were given good advice on this one, that you need to use the words that they use. Now, it may be local vernacular, or it may just be certain buzzwords or keywords or phrases, so that they know that you are talking directly to them. They don't feel like they're being talked down to, or on the flip side, they don't feel like you're an idiot who doesn't understand what they're talking about. So it's important that you use those words, but it's also important that you are genuine and don't overdo it at the same time. Now, what I mean by that is you shouldn't write like you're a 13-year-old kid, but you also shouldn't write like you're a 50-year-old out of touch adult. And you can do that again by sprinkling in the right buzzwords, the keywords, the phrases, all of these things that will let people know that you really do understand them. So that's really my advice on that. Rather than using slang terms or local vernacular, just make sure you're using the words they use in order to make it work. Why do some words or phrases connect better with some people than others do? And that's a great question. And the answer to that is because the words that connect with them, or the words that connect with them better, are the words that they use. And if you're using words that they don't use, or they don't understand, or they don't identify with, then they're not going to connect at all. Now, some other things that you can do to connect better with people when you're thinking about this is to use verbs in your headlines. Now, why would we use verbs in our headlines? Well, the reason we want to make sure we're using verbs, as many verbs as we can in our headlines, is because verbs create mental pictures. And mental pictures connect with people because it forces them to imagine something. So using verbs as much as possible is really, really going to help you. So here's I'll just give you an example off the top of my head. How to write and publish your own outrageously profitable ebook. Okay, how to write and publish. That causes you to think of it. Okay, now think about another headline, how to be a published author. That's a little bit harder to visualize. And it also comes down to active versus passive writing. Now, there are tons and tons of courses out on the internet. You can go to Google and search for active versus passive writing or business writing. But really what it comes down to is active writing is all based around verbs, and passive writing is all based around is, am, was, were, and be. And the problem is when you use is, am, was, were, be, all the forms of that, that's not an active, that's a passive way of writing. And it doesn't create motion inside of people's heads. It causes you to be wordy. It causes you to be unclear. Whereas an active voice is very clear, it's very direct, it doesn't beat around the bush, and people get the message a lot quicker. So, like I said, there are a ton of courses out there on active versus passive writing, business writing. Go check them out. I'm sure there are some free ones out there. The other thing you can do is use copy connectors. So when you are writing copy, especially when you're creating it in building blocks, you can use transitions between blocks of copy. Now, what do I mean? Well, these are how to transition between sections and segments of your sales message. So what do I mean by that? And actually use two copy connectors there. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? Well, let me explain. There's another copy connector. So you use little phrases like that to connect various parts of your copy. So for example, there's another one. So for example, when you're transitioning between the part of your copy where you introduce the solution and you have a bunch of bullets about it, then you might have a transition like, now at this point you might be wondering, who am I to make these claims about being able to help you with writing your own book? That's a copy connector. So in that case, you would then teach or show them, demonstrate, tell them about yourself and your accomplishments. And then after you do that, you might use a copy connector like, but I'm not the only one. Take a look at this. And that introduces the section in your copy where you share testimonials, you share case studies. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, how much is all this going to cost? That's where you introduce the price, do the price drop. And then you could say something like, but before you make a decision, let me sweeten the pot even more. And then you introduce your bonuses. So then you want to transition from the bonuses to your final call to action or to the guarantee. Let's say you want to go to the guarantee. Now, let me tell you, you're 100% covered with our money back guarantee. And then after the guarantee, you could say something like, now the choice is yours. It's time to get started. And then you go into the summary, and then at the end, you might have a PS and introduce everything at the end with a PS, now it's time to choose. It might be, oh, one more thing. There's some sort of a little connector. So this is actually a really natural way to make your copy flow if you think of this as one big conversation, which is really what it is. I've had quite a few people tell me they don't read long posts on Facebook, so I've just wondered if it was because it's long or they just weren't connected to the long content. I think it doesn't really matter whether you're talking about long posts on Facebook or you're talking about long articles or you're talking about long sales videos, you're talking about long webinars or long sales letters. The people who are interested will read, watch, and listen. The people who are not interested will not read, watch, or listen, no matter what you do. So it's important to target your people very effectively so you're showing your message to the right people. Now, if you see that nobody is reading your long posts or your long sales letters or watching or listening to your long video sales letters, then you are either targeting wrong or your sales copy sucks and you need to shorten it. Don't get emotional about it. Don't be a whiny little punk about it. Change it. This is part of the getting good at sales copy. If it's not working, don't try harder to make it work by saying, oh, we just need to run more ads. Maybe you need to change who you're showing it to. And if that doesn't work, then you need to say, you know what, let's try something different. Let's try something shorter. Let's try a different tack. Let's try a different headline. Let's try a different offer. Let's try a different call to action. Whatever it is, try something different. And you want to avoid being a whiny little punk and saying, well, this doesn't work, and I must not be very good at writing sales copy, and long copy doesn't work. No, your long copy doesn't work. That's the difference. Own it. Try something else. See if you can get the result that you're trying to get. So if quite a few people tell you something that they don't read long posts on Facebook, that's great. Are they in your target audience? Have they bought something? Consider the source. How do you use curiosity in your sales copy quickly, easily, and without pissing people off? Well, the way you do it without pissing people off is to not use curiosity that is not related to whatever it is your offer is about or your sales copy is about. So the classic example is a headline that says sex in giant letters, and then it says, okay, now I've got your attention. Let's talk about the world's greatest dishwashing detergent. Now, unless you're into some weird sex, dishwashing detergent has nothing to do with sex, and you end up being pissed off. So where you end up using curiosity and pissing people off is when you typically are doing like bait and switch. So you just don't do bait and switch. You use curiosity that makes people more thirsty, that makes people more excited, that makes people more interested in whatever it is you are actually selling and whatever actually is in your sales message. So a good example would be, could you really write a book in 3 hours? Is that really possible? Believe it or not, it's true. Let me show you how. That's curiosity inducing, and it's absolutely real. So a lot of the way that you can induce curiosity is with asking a question. And by asking a question that seems almost beyond the realm of real, but if you ask it in a way like, what if you could have all the credibility of being a published author and it would only take you 3 hours of total work? Would that be cool or what? Well, believe it or not, it's absolutely true, and I can prove it. That's going to get some people interested in your sales copy. So leading with some sort of a question with an almost outlandish but supportable claim. And the other, just as an aside, by asking it as a question, can also help you to make some pretty cool ads that won't get you in trouble with the censors over at Facebook and Google, because all you're doing is asking a question rather than making a claim. How to write to what the target needs wrapped up in what they want so it resonates. People buy what they want. Rarely do they ever buy what they truly need. I want the latest Xbox game. I need to lose weight. I want to lose weight, but I really need to eat healthy, and I really want more to eat a cheeseburger than I want to lose weight. The problem is that people buy what they want, but the great thing is people buy what they want. So what you need to do is sell them what they want and include what they need to get results if they're willing to take the action. So whatever it is they want, sell it to them, but package it with what they need in order for them to be able to get an authentic result. But just don't talk about the need, because they don't care. What can we do to keep people engaged and reading our copy? There's a lot of stuff you can do to keep people engaged in reading our copy. Number one, have pictures so that it keeps them moving along. Break up the text with bold and bullets. Don't have big blobby paragraphs. Paragraphs should only be 2, 3, 4 lines long, max. Pretty much a sentence is a paragraph when I'm writing copy. Keep it moving. Keep it about them, meaning it's focused on them, their story, their needs, their desires, their problems. Phrase everything you say about yourself and your product in terms of how it's going to benefit them, how it's going to help them, how they're going to be enriched, how they're going to be helped, how they're going to alleviate pain or dissipate fear, whatever it is. Just keep it about them, keep it moving, don't drone on. Make sure you talk a lot about meaning and focus on emotion, and that's how you can keep people engaged in reading your copy. Do you have a different approach or template when writing sales copy to promote a consulting service as opposed to promoting a digital product? And that's an interesting question, because people always want to think or say, you know, my product's different, my market's different, my thing is different. That would work if you do this, but it's not going to work for me. And so the first thing to understand is that people are people and people buy stuff. And whether you're selling B2B or B2C or whatever, it's a person that's buying. And the person buys on emotion and justifies on logic. They're trying to satisfy desires and solve problems. They probably want to have some fun, and they want to avoid making mistakes. So writing sales copy to promote a consulting service as opposed to promoting a digital product, the digital product, I would talk about how they're going to be able to solve their problem or satisfy their desire with the digital product. And with the consulting service, I would talk about how they're able to satisfy their desire or solve their problem by hiring the consultant. And so it's really no different. You're just explaining how they get what they want. So they get it by downloading this and clicking some buttons, or they get it by getting on the phone with you and you solve their problems after some sort of lengthy interaction. So there's really no different approach. It's problem, agitate, solve. It's where we are now. So it's before, after bridge, where you are right now, which is the before, then the after of hiring us or of getting this digital product, and then positioning the consulting service of the digital product as the solution. So it's really no different. It's just how you explain how they're going to get the benefit. One is a service and one is a thing they're going to download and interact with. Does the color of your copy on the page really matter? And the answer to that is yes and no, meaning yes, it matters in that people can read it, in that people can absorb it, that it doesn't confuse them, it doesn't shock them, it doesn't fatigue their eyes. Why do you think most books are black text on white or cream colored paper? Because that's the easiest to read on. That's what we're used to. On the flip side, you might hear things like, oh, red headlines never work, or red headlines are the best. You need to be very careful about prognostications like that of it's always this way or another. But what you want to do is make sure that your copy on your page is neat, it's orderly, it has a color scheme that is pleasing to most people's eyes, that it's easy to read or easy to see, and that's pretty much it. So I don't know that the color of your copy matters so much to make sales, but the color of your copy does matter if you want to lose sales. You really want to piss people off? Have a navy blue page with canary yellow writing. I guarantee 99 times out of 100, it will kill your conversions. What do you think about using a good microphone and dictation platform like Dragon Naturally Speaking to record the copy for version 1 and then editing? Many people can tell their stories but freeze when it's time to write. I think that in theory, Dragon Naturally Speaking and other dictation platforms like that are a great idea. In practice, they're a complete and total pain in the ass, because when you are trying to dictate using Dragon Naturally Speaking, you have to remember to say end of paragraph, new line, period, open parentheses, close parentheses, open quote, close quote, capitalized, new paragraph, all caps. Scrap that, scrap that, scrap that. I mean, it's a total pain in the ass. So what happens is you start talking and you lose your train of thought. So my suggestion would be that if you're going to if you want to dictate something, use a service like rev.com where you just dictate it and then you send it to a human being to have them transcribe it for you. Rev.com, they charge 30 cents, or they charge $1 a minute. So if it's a 30-minute, it's going to be a $30 bill. There are other services out there that are kind of like Dragon Naturally Speaking on steroids, where they work, but it's an automated thing, and I think they charge 50 cents a minute. If I'm just looking to dictate little quickie stuff, I have found that the absolute best transcription is to use my iPhone and transcribe a note, because I believe it's set to a minute. You can do a minute. And my iPhone, for whatever reason, does a better job of transcribing, and it's super quick. And so I'll just transcribe little snippets that way. So I think that transcribing, especially if it's on the top of your mind and it just starts coming out, you need to be ready to capture it. I did this just the other day. I was on a phone call, or excuse me, I was on a Zoom meeting with somebody in Idaho, and we were talking about creating an email follow-up sequence. And I started to say, the email just basically needs to say, and I whacked the record button, and I said what the email should say. And it took me 58 seconds, and I turned off the recording. I sent the recording to Rev. They charged me $1. They sent it back. It was perfect. And all I had to do was format it. So my final answer to this question is Dragon, naturally speaking, sucks no matter how much you train it. Use your iPhone or use rev.com or a live transcription service to have it transcribed, and you'll be a lot happier. Passive versus active voice. I think I answered this one already, but basically passive voice is when you are using the words I or is, am, was, were, be, as opposed to using active verbs. And I would just encourage you to investigate that. I help people beat their addiction, but is beat addiction a good enough hurdle, or should it be more direct, like how to stop struggling with alcohol? I think in this case, with anything, when you're talking about something like beat addiction, is kind of like level one. That's the buzzword stuff that people use. And the problem is that they're used to it. It's kind of lets them off the hook. We know what this is. Yeah, I need to beat my addiction. So now we take that down a level and we say, okay, stop struggling with alcohol. Okay, that's more specific. That can create a little bit more emotion, but you want to take it down to, level 3 or level 4, where you talk about your family destroyed, your life in shambles, you're financially wrecked, all your money's gone, you have no friends, your life sucks, and you're standing on the edge of a cliff. Now, the question is, are you going to jump, or are you going to turn around and do something about it? Now, please understand that what I just said on that last thing should not be used in any way, shape, or form. I'm not giving legal advice or counseling advice. And please, for God's sake, don't ever tell anybody to stand. You're standing on a cliff. You either got to jump or you got to fix this, because obviously that'd be a real stupid thing to say to somebody. So anyway, this is why I'm not in any form of counseling. But that's figuratively what you got to do is you have to access those levels of emotion. And as you tap into that emotion and those emotionally charged words, you are going to get a better result, meaning more sales, as opposed to keeping it top level where it doesn't hurt. In this case, you want it to hurt. You want pain, because real pain is going to spur them to finally, hopefully, take some sort of action. All right, so that was it for the submitted questions. We're going to take a look real quick. Oh, Craig says Temi.com, Temi is rev.com, but it's automated and it works awesome. So thank you, Craig. So Temi.com, you can check that for automated stuff. Let's see. I'm going to look through these real quick. Mtano says, can funnel scripts work without ClickFunnels? Yes, you can use funnel scripts to create copy for anything. You don't have to have ClickFunnels for it, though we do recommend it. Another question, can Snagit capture a full web page, including scrolling down the page to get the entire sales page to capture for swipe files? Yes, it can do that. Which of your wizard softwares, if any, did you use to create this training series? I didn't really use any of the wizards to create this. I did use the most burning question or the ask campaign thing from funnel scripts. Next one, I fall into the they hate me category with my military combatives and self-defense training because I'm always having to debunk, aka put down potential customers' martial arts training. I try and prop up the it's not your fault, you've been lied to script, but a lot of martial artists have been drinking the tainted Kool-Aid for so long that they believe their martial arts form is different. Do you have any suggestions on how to debunk without falling into putting down the prospect or telling them that they're stupid for having their mythical Bruce Lee BS beliefs? I say that tongue in cheek, but it's absolutely true. I would say maybe the way to do it is not to have you tell them, but to have your students tell them. In other words, do before and after type interviews with people. So do an interview, do a case study with somebody that came to you from another dojo, another mindset, another martial art, and then you explain to them they got converted by you, and have them tell. It's one thing for you to tell them. It's another thing for somebody that looks like them, sounds like them, smells like them, to tell them, if that makes sense. That would be what I would do, because you can tell them till you're blue in the face, but if somebody that looks like them tells them, then that at least will crack the door for them. What are you writing on the screen with? I'm using a Wacom tablet in PowerPoint. Did you purposely capitalize copywriting and not secrets masterclass at the bottom, or was that just an oversight? No, that's just the way I did it. Review the 10 reasons people buy. No, you can go back and review that. I spent a whole secret on that. You can go review it. Could you please go into some more detail about copywriting for skimmers and alternate reading path? Just real quick, basically when people are skimming, typically what people will do is they'll read your main headline. They probably won't look at your video sales letter. They'll look at your bullets. They'll look at your subheadlines. They'll probably read your offer with a picture of your product. They'll read the PS. They'll look for the price. And so this all has to have some sort, it basically has to have a logical flow to it, that they should be able to get the gist of your entire offer off of that. Do you ever combine the before after bridge and the problem agitate solve together? You could, sure, especially when you're talking about the before. The before can basically be problem agitate, and then the after is where you describe what life is like, and then the bridge is where you then explain the product. So if you think about it, problem agitate solve is basically problem and agitate is before, and then you're going to substitute in the after, which is basically future pacing, and then your solve is the bridge. So it's really just rearranging parts and adding some stuff from NLP. How would I go about softening negative fear-based terminal outcomes of violent attack, rape, and death in regards to self-defense products and still have effective copy, as so many paid traffic sources are trying to step away from anything to do with violence or fear-based sales? I don't know. I mean, the immediate thing that pops into my head is statistics, because they can't really argue with statistics. So if you're using US government statistics or something else related, maybe that's what you can try building it around and see if they'll let you do that. That would be that's just my immediate gut reaction to that. Speaking about using pictures to break a copy, where did you get your flat clip art for your slides from here? I got them from a place called the Noun Project. If you go look on Google, I think it's the nounproject.com, but it might be just be Noun Project. So go look on Google for Noun Project and you can find it. It's got a yearly it's got a yearly subscription fee to it. Kat says it may be a pain, but I like Dragon and used it for years. That's cool. If you can get it to work, that's great. Terry says beat your addiction and put your life back together. Tom says, can you speak about hooks also? Do you have a list of takeaways that you like? I spoke about hooks before. I think I covered it in one of the secrets well enough. There's nothing I really would add to that here. As far as takeaways, the easiest takeaway that you can use is basically, now this isn't for everybody. This is only for people who are, and then you fill in the blank. So now this isn't for everybody, or obviously we can't take everybody. Obviously we can't make this offer forever. Obviously we can't whatever. So that's the type of takeaway that you want to use. It's just, you're just saying, obviously this is only for people who are seriously motivated to change their life. Obviously we can't do this forever, so we're putting a limit of only 50 people on this. Obviously, whatever it is, that's how you do it. Don't overcomplicate it or overthink it, because all you're basically trying to tell them is we can't do this for everybody. Craig says, no human transcriber, but same company, cheaper. Interesting. Okay. Rodney says, when do I use funnel scripts versus easy wizards? Well, typically, with the exception of the easy sales copy wizard, funnel scripts is mainly about sales copy, and the easy online wizards is all based around creating content. There is some overlap, but not a lot. What is additional function is there in ClickFunnels wizard as compared to other wizards on your premium membership site? Again, ClickFunnels is all centered around creating sales copy, and all my other wizards are all about that, just creating content. So that's the big thing. If you want to see a cool training and get some insight into funnel scripts, if you go to funnelscripts.com and just watch the training, it'll explain it. And so that's the answer. After you launch, what's a reasonable time frame to deliver the physical product to the customer if you don't have it yet to ship? Have that up front in the sales copy for sure, but was just wondering what was too long for delivery. Now that's a good question from the standpoint of when you're writing the sales copy, but I personally wouldn't start selling it until I knew I was going to have it within a week or two. And preferably, you really want to have it in hand. So just because you write the sales copy and you haven't created the product yet doesn't mean you go run ads to the sales copy and then take real orders, because that can get you into problems. Now, you can set it up if you're trying to see if people will buy whatever you're doing. What you can do is set up your whole funnel, run ads, and get people to the point where they're clicking that buy button and they think they're going to put in their credit card, and then you give them a message that says, hey, we're temporarily out of stock, but put in your email address and we'll contact you when we're in stock, and we'll put you on the priority notification list. That's how you could test whether it's working or not. But you don't want to take people, especially for a physical product, you don't want to take people's payment, you don't want to take people's payment if you don't have the stuff ready to ship. There's just too much that can go wrong if you do that. Oh, got it. Thank you, Michael. Clarified. The review of the 10 was a recommendation for your listeners as you talked about how to sell receipt paper, not for you to review them. Sorry. That's what happens when I read too fast and don't ask. So thank you for clarifying that, Michael. Yes, all of you should review that, and not with my mean voice, but with my happy, helpful mentoring voice of, you should go review that because it will really, really help you. Unfortunately, I don't have time right this second to go over it, but luckily it's in the training and it's just a click away. So thank you, Michael. All right. Imtana says, Sham, wow, obviously we can't do this forever. Obviously we can't make this deal all day. There you go. All right. The biggest takeaway from the entire Copywriting Secrets Masterclass is a reminder that I really need to know Fred. That's the solid foundation on which to take action on all the incredible value delivered in the entire 6 weeks. Brilliant course. Just want to say thanks, Jim. Awesome. Thanks, Rodney. Terry says, you've done a fabulous service for us on this masterclass. My summer study will be re-listening and applying the lessons learned over the past few weeks. You rock, and you always over-deliver. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. So I really do appreciate that, guys. And I think that was the end of the questions. I do have some final thoughts for you guys real quick. If you were so inclined to share a testimonial like Rodney and Terry have just done, I would be forever grateful. And I just want to say thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Without you guys, this would not have happened, because just for a little teaching moment, the fact that I had to stand and deliver every Wednesday, even when I didn't want to, even when there were other things going on, even when there was other stuff that I would have rather been doing, that was really the fact. I couldn't have done this without you, so I appreciate it. Kat just asked, do you want one here or where for a testimonial? Here would be great right now. I hope that you could do one. If not, Susan, if you could throw the link for the help desk in, but I would really appreciate it if you guys would just if you wanted to do a testimonial right here, that's fine. But if you could throw in for everybody the link to the help desk. The big thing I would say is just take this and go make sales. That's really my whole purpose here, is to help you. And I have a damaging admission. I actually played a trick on you. And I hope you're not mad at me for doing that. But this is actually a sales book more than a copywriting book. This has been about sales as much or more than copywriting, because you're learning sales techniques that you can apply anywhere. The written word, the spoken word, you've learned about how to structure stuff, how to create a conversation that leads someone to want to take an action. The other thing is that this isn't the end. This is really the beginning. So what I hope that this did was to inspire you to want to get better at selling, because getting good at selling means getting good at making money. And there's nothing wrong with helping people and making money at the same time. But this is also about communication. So learning how to communicate, learning how to sell, you want to really make it part of who you are, because it'll make a huge difference for you. And so my last thought is just go make a lot more sales. That is the way that you could repay me for this and make me happy, would be for you to take these various things that I've taught you and go make more sales in an authentic way, helping people to make a difference in their lives and creating a true win-win. So I appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, wow. Thank you, Kat. I guess we're not done yet. Kat says, I started following Jim Edwards several years ago and started using some of his products. Now I'm a junkie because he gives some of the best sales and copywriting information around. Kat, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, guys. Well, we appreciate it. and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.